The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Melissa Wolfenbarger, a wife and mother of two, vanished in 1998. Her remains were found in early 1999, but they were not identified until 2003 when the Flint River Killer was arrested. That serial killer was her father. Then, more than 2 decades later, finally an arrest for her murder, but it wasn't her serial killer father. It was her husband. Tonight, we have the latest from the courtroom as the trial of Christopher Wolfenbarger continues. Meanwhile, in Tallahassee, Florida, the trial of Donna Adelson, an overbearing, meddling mother accused of orchestrating the murder for hire of her ex-son-in-law to ensure that her daughter, Wendy, obtained sole custody of her children. We are live at the courthouse with the latest as this high-profile trial gets underway. But first, in 1995, Eric Menendez and his brother Lyle were convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder. The jury spared them the death penalty, and they were sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Through the years, they lost every appeal. But then, California changed the law, and now the brothers are eligible to apply for parole. And today, Eric Menendez appeared in front of the parole board, and we are live from California with today's huge decision. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And here we are. I still can't, I got to pinch myself. Are we really where we are tonight? And yeah, we are. So let's go back in time. Eric and Lyle Menendez were facing the death penalty. Why? Because it was an orchestrated, premeditated, double murder of their parents. That's what it was. That's what it was. And that's why they were facing the death penalty. It's a double murder. It's like, it doesn't get much worse than that, right? It's not 1 murder, it's 2 murders. They planned and plotted all of it. It wasn't self-defense. And they were convicted. Now, they were eligible for the death penalty, didn't get the death penalty. The jury gave them a break. You are going to prison for the rest of your life. You'll never see the light of day. And that's the way, you know, it's always described when you get life without parole. You're going away, and you know what, ladies and gentlemen, the worst punishment for my client would be to just send him away for the rest of his life so he has to think about what he did. Giving him the death penalty, that'd be the easy way out. I've heard the argument 1 billion times, exaggeration, but I've heard it a lot on court TV. And so they got life without the possibility of parole. Now, another little fun fact in this double murder is that they had to reload to finish off Mom. Now, remember what this whole thing was about is that Jose, the father, was a monster, right? And if you have a monster like Jose in the family, is Mom enabling the monster? Is Mom scared of the monster? If the monster is killed, and Jose was killed first, is Kitty a threat to you at any point after that? No. But they took the time to reload the shotgun to make sure that she was dead. So that's the second of the 2 murders. And as I said, California changed the law, so if you're a good boy or a good girl in prison, you can apply for a resentencing. And it was granted because they're just great inmates. They're just fantastic double murderers. So now, in a case where they could have gotten the death penalty from the original jury, now they can get parole. And today, Eric Menendez in front of the parole board. Unbelievable how we got here. Now, you can argue all you want about whether they deserve to get out, they don't deserve to get out. I mean, just by the law and the history, they never should have gotten another chance to get out. They lost every single appeal on every single issue. It's been as litigated as any case could be, but still, some people, they should be out, they should be out. And California has this law where even double murderers can get parole. So life without parole in California does not mean life without parole. Just so we're clear, stop lying to us. Let me bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, who joins us live outside the Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, California. Great to see you, Matt. This is potentially a historic day. What can you tell us about the scene outside? Any word from what's happening inside? Because I know that the state of California, in a situation where they're potentially letting a double murderer out on parole, are being anything but transparent about what's happening today.
That's right. This hearing is still underway as far as we know, and we could have breaking news at any moment with this case for the Menendez brothers. They hope that they are one step closer to walking out these prison doors here in the Otay Mesa of San Diego County. This is on the border of the U.S. and Mexico. This is the Donovan State Prison. It goes anywhere from maximum to medium security facility, and this is where the brothers together have been housed here, and only recently now granted the opportunity to face a parole board and possibly be released. So it's broken up into 2 days. So today is all about the younger brother, Eric Menendez. He was only 18 years old at the time of the crime. He's facing the parole board first with his attorney, Mark Garagos, next to him. And this is a virtual setup. Inside the prison here is a media representative. We believe it's with the LA Times or print reporter. They're taking notes. And, you know, when you're talking about the transparency, we were told that at the end of the day, and we didn't expect these proceedings, this hearing to last all day, that we would be getting notes throughout the day and quotes and updates. Well, now we're hearing that we're not going to hear about it until the end of the entire day, and it's still going. We have not received word yet on any official decision by this parole board, Vinnie.
And I'm looking at the scene behind you. It looks a little chaotic. You know, I understand all the, media is there, but you're out of prison, so I understand all of that. But what's going to be the process? Do we even know how this person, who we don't know who they are, who was let in perhaps to take notes, is going to let the world know if a double murderer is going to have an opportunity for parole?
Yeah, it's going to happen one of 2 ways, and that's really not clear at this point in time. They're either going to come out and share their notes with us and talk about what they saw, or we're going to be alerted through an email, and we're going to receive notes all at the same time. We did have to sign up through a special website and email. But you were looking at that video. Yeah, you have news media from not just Southern California here, but you have media from all across the country. This is an international story. This is drone footage shot by Court TV earlier today. So each side, or each brother rather, is going to have an opportunity to address the parole board. Eric has the opportunity to address the board and assess whether or not he poses an unreasonable risk to the public if released, a danger to society. That's what this board is going to evaluate at the end of the day. Also, motivation for the crime, signs of remorse. That's something that DA Hochman had criticized with the brothers, saying that they shouldn't be released because they never took accountability. Well, family members are saying that they did, so that's where the narratives have been on that. And then there also the behavior here at Donovan State Prison. While their time here will be evaluated by this board, and then decision rendered, and hopefully we can break that news tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's going to speak at this hearing, or who's permitted to speak?
Yeah, so we have Eric and Lyle Menendez in each of their parole hearings. Today, again, is just Eric, and their attorney's allowed to sit with them. And then everyone appears virtually, and including the board. But as always in parole hearings, survivors of the victims, they're allowed to address the court or make victim impact statements to the parole board. And we expect that with several family members, because you had more than 20 Menendez family members that were making statements at the resentencing that took place in May in Van Nuys Courthouse in LA County earlier this year, which led to this point in time. So we're expecting to hear from those family members that have been very consistent in their messaging. Take a listen.
They've apologized to us repeatedly over the years and have exemplified growth and healing. They've lived with accountability every day, all while knowing that if they'd have all of that, while never knowing they'd ever have a chance at release.
I really hope that this sets the precedent for other LWOP inmates who have shown transformation and change.
LWOP meaning life in prison without the possibility of parole. Well, we're not there anymore with the Menendez brothers. All right, so you have D.A. Hochman, who has been a staunch advocate against this, releasing these convicted killers. And he released this statement to Court TV and other outlets. And it says this, in quote, "The Menendez brothers have never fully accepted responsibility for the horrific murders of their parents, instead continuing to promote a false narrative of self-defense that was rejected by a jury decades ago. We have consistently opposed their release because they have not demonstrated full insight into their crimes or shown that they have been fully rehabilitated and therefore continue to pose a risk to society. We will evaluate our final position based on the evidence presented at the hearing." So right there, that tells you that the DA is also part of this meeting and viewing the point of the prosecutors in the 90s that led to this conviction in the first place.
Okay, so there's a couple of scenarios, right? Two scenarios, I believe, right? Either this parole board believes they should get parole or believes he should not get parole. What happens next?
Yeah, so we could also see a recommendation for release for one or both of the brothers by any chance, whether or not that happens. Then if there is a recommendation for release, it's reviewed within 120 days by the state parole board. That's up in Sacramento, California. And then within 30 days after that, the governor can weigh in. So Governor Gavin Newsom can reject the idea of a release. But he's also the wild card in all of this because even if the brothers or one or both are denied parole or eligibility, he also has clemency on the table that he can grant. Vinnie?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even need the parole board, but I think he'll likely lean into whatever they recommend, perhaps. I don't think they get out without the parole board giving it the thumbs up. All right, Matt, let's do this. I'm going to speak to my guests right now, but if you hear anything, boom, I'll drop whatever I'm doing. Matt Johnson will report the results of Eric Menendez's hearing today. Thanks so much. Matt is outside the prison out there. Whew. Strange, really strange how all this has taken place. To me, this is a time where it should be the ultimate in transparency, right? Let's bring in our think tank. Longtime Massachusetts attorney Rick Grundy and trial attorney Alexis Rosenberg. All right, am I crazy? Am I crazy that I don't care what your rules are, but my goodness, we've had cameras in parole hearings in California years ago, so I know it can be done. This parole board is deciding whether or not to recommend a convicted double murderer who was facing the death penalty, was given life without the possibility of parole, and they're deciding whether or not he should get parole, yet the public is excluded from from seeing and hearing the entire process here. Is that outrageous, Alexis?
I'm going to say yes. I think that there should be transparency. I think the public should be able to see what's going on inside and not just get what Matt said, this email or some sort of note that's being slipped. It really doesn't make much sense. I mean, this has been out in front of the public the whole entire time. Yeah,
and Rick, the other thing is, you are giving a break to someone who has already taken 2 lives. Like, I don't know what the allegations here of things that need to be secret or private. Like, this is the time when our government, who may send back out onto the street, into our streets, and he'll be likely able to go to any state he wants to go. So it's not just California, but you're letting a convicted double murderer out potentially. Shouldn't we be privy to see exactly the process, the questions, the evidence?
Of course we should, Vinny. And I think this is a reflection of a larger problem, and that is the politicization of prosecutions. And we've seen it across the nation, from the president's office and the use of clemency on through to states and the governor's use of it in political situations. And I think here, this case has been politicized. And these people want, whether it's the parole board, the governor, whoever, they want to have some cover of darkness as to what was actually said and did based on the blowback that they get for whatever the decision is.
Yeah, and, you know, California changed their law. I get it. I don't agree with their law. I don't think double murderers should get a second chance. But California, they elected the people who passed this law and said this is the way we want to administer justice. Okay, that's fine. But, like, there should be some level of an obligation to the public as to why you would or would not let out a double murderer. For two reasons, Alexis, I see. On the one reason is the safety of the public, right? So we kind of believe, okay, we see how this system's actually working. That's number one. But number two, to make sure that whatever standards are applied to killers who get a second chance is applied evenly across the board. And you know, rich kids from Beverly Hills who have celebrities speaking on their behalf don't get some sort of special treatment, right? Isn't that another reason for this for transparency here?
I totally agree with you, Vinny. I mean, I think then we even saw with the Diddy trial that the cameras weren't allowed in that court either. And this just seemed to be a trend that I totally disagree with, because the public has a right to have access to those courtrooms. But you bring up a very valid point. Would this be happening if these two brothers were African American? Would the same thing be taking place right now? And I got to say, I'm not so sure that would be the case.
Yeah, I don't know how California is going to apply this new law where they let killers out, but the public should see it. Hey, guess who's joining us? Criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, Dave Schnipper. There he is. Okay.
I'm back.
Now, we have a full quorum now, so we can get some work done here, David. What are your thoughts? California, I accept it. California decides how they want to run their state, and they don't believe in life without the possibility of parole. There's always a chance now in California. Always a chance. If you don't sentence them to death, there's always a chance that they can get out in California. That's just the way they're running their state, which is fine. But, David, do you believe it should be a much more public process than what we're getting here, which is one reporter going in, taking notes? We're not seeing or hearing the testimony. We're not seeing or hearing the evidence. We're not listening to what the parole board is asking this double murderer. We're not hearing what the double murderer is saying. And they may recommend, I don't know what they're going to do, but they may recommend that the double murderer be allowed to walk free. That may be their recommendation. I'm not comfortable with that. How about you, David?
No, believe it or not, this happened 36 years ago and one day ago, August 20th, 1989. And how long ago this happened, the sitcom, the Beverly Hills 90210's first episode was in 1990. That's how long ago this happened. But I think, and I heard one of my colleagues say, it's, we love like the media coverage and how they become so popular, and sort of like how Ted Bundy's popular, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, became popular. There's some fascination with
but there's a difference here, David. They became infamous. These guys became popular, right? And there's people. No one was ever asking for Richard Ramirez to be released. No one wanted Ted Bundy out. Yeah. But a lot of people want these guys out. Maybe they deserve it. One of the jurors in the first trial believes that they should be out. I get it. But the process seems too secret to me. Like, I don't trust the result without seeing the process.
Well, then somebody once said the government's the new mafia, right? I mean, the government's going to do what they want to do. But I think the angle here is the sexual abuse, right? The whole thing is, was there any evidence that the father, Jose, really sexually abused them, which would give a motive for them to do what they did? Some people think that would maybe be reasonable. And I think that is why some people think that, A, they spent 35 years in prison. I don't personally believe that. But I think that is sort of like the empathy that people have with the Menendez brothers, if you really believe that they were sexually abused by their father, where their mother sat there and knew about it, and that is their defense, right? That's what they have always said. Now, I don't think there's any evidence that ever really shows that, but I think that that's the angle that some people, that are talking about, well, maybe they, deserve to be paroled. I certainly don't believe that. I mean, they're cold-blooded.
I think it may happen. I think it may not happen this time. It could happen down the road. It may not happen at all. But California has chosen this route for their murderers, just so folks know and understand. They've carved out a way for murderers to get out if they're good boys and girls while they're in prison. All right, Think Tank is staying with us. When we come back, Donna Adelson, jury selection, live report. Julia Janae is down in Tallahassee. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates the disappearance of little baby Emmanuel. Mom says he was abducted, and tonight we take a look at her body language. Does Mom's story make sense? Are there any signs of deception? Tonight, we investigate.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Is your mom overprotective of you?
Yes.
His mom hasn't been sleeping. His mom is not eating.
And the reason she wasn't sleeping or eating, did that have to do with this ex-husband of Wendy?
Yes, ma'am.
Quote, it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman and it was cheaper to get you this TV. Is that what he said?
That was the joke that he made, yes.
Were all of the checks deposited by Catherine McVanois?
They were.
Who were all the checks signed by?
Donna Adelson.
We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through, the way you're taking care of Katie and Tucson.
All right, folks, it's happening down in the capital of Florida, Tallahassee. And Donna Adelson, the matriarch of the Adelson family from South Florida, from 480 miles away, on trial for being the alleged, I don't know, almost like it's like the grandmother version of The Godfather, pulling the strings to have her son-in-law, Dan Markel, murdered so her daughter could have sole custody of their children, not in Tallahassee, but down in South Florida. Okay, let's bring in Court TV's anchor, Julia Janae, live from outside the courthouse in Tallahassee. Here we go, Julia. I mean, we're back. It's happening. What can you tell us about the jury? And my understanding is we have a jury?
We have a jury. A jury has been seated. It took many hours today, a couple of hours of overtime these parties and these potential jurors put in before we learned that we do have a jury of 12 plus 2 alternates, and openings are going to start tomorrow. Here's a breakdown of what we could tell from those jurors that were selected. There are 8 men, 6 women on this jury. There are 2 of them who appear to be African American, 2 who appear to be of Asian descent. The remaining 10 appear to be white, varying ages and professions in this group. And they are going to be the ones hearing it. I mean, this was a long day for them. They appeared to be tired, but here's the moment that around 6:30 today, about an hour and a half longer than they would have been in the courtroom, we finally had a jury.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will well and truly try the issues between the state of Florida and this defendant and render a true verdict according to the law and evidence? If so, say I will. I will. Thank you.
You can be seated.
Vinny, it feels like deja vu that we were here 2 years ago. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but so many things felt the same. 2 to 3 days of jury selection. The case style was Florida versus Adelson, but we've got a different Adelson and a different story that we may hear tomorrow inside of the courtroom.
Oh, wait. What do you mean a different story? So the Adelsons are going to have a different version of what happened here?
I wouldn't say a different story overall, but I think there's more to the story we're going to hear. I think there are different layers that perhaps the state will be able to bring out. And I don't know if Donna Adelson's team is going to stick with the Charlie Adelson blackmail theory. I mean, this is a completely different legal team that is not beholden to Charlie at all, is not beholden to trying to protect the entire family the way her former attorney, Daniel Roshbaum, likely was doing. So we'll see. You don't want to miss it tomorrow. 8:45 a.m. is when they're going to get things up and running inside of that courtroom.
Yeah, so we were wondering, what was Charlie's defense going to be? And it was, yeah, the money was paid, but it was an extortion deal. They were going to come after us, and they took out Dan Markell to sort of send a message, and then we paid money so we wouldn't be harmed, or, it's crazy, but that was the story. I mean, if there's a different story, Julia Janae, then the whole world should be 100% convinced that they're guilty, because the story shouldn't change. Because if it's either extortion or it's not, and if it's not extortion and it's something else at this trial, then we're just fishing. We're throwing spaghetti against the wall. We're hoping that it's not al dente and something sticks. Okay. Today, I understand they showed an image on the screen. What was that?
Oh, yeah, the image of Donna Adelson. So we, of course, have seen her inside of the courtroom. She looks a lot different than she did back when she was arrested, back when that bump video happened, the undercover operation. This is what the defense put up on the screen, their PowerPoint in front of these potential jurors, to really show them what this case is about. State of Florida versus Donna Adelson. And, of course, we all took notice of the popsicle in the corner of this photo that they chose to use. I mean, it's a smiling photo of Donna. It appears to have been many years ago that it was taken, and it looks like a very young kid's hand that's holding that popsicle, so it could be one of her grandchildren that's in this picture with her that's cropped out with the popsicle left in. And who knows, Vinny, the defense could be wanting to make sure this jury sees her as this lovable grandmother, not this overbearing, over-involved mother who planned her son-in-law's murder.
Yeah, well, if you want to play up the grandma thing on that picture, you better, cut back on the filter. I know that filter. I've used it a couple times. It takes a few years off you. Yeah, okay. All right. So it all starts tomorrow morning, Julia Janae.
Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., but I'll be looking to see if there are any new things that come out in those opening statements, because we know the defense has said in pretrial that, yes, Donna plans to testify. She wants to testify. They've been trying to protect certain things in terms of her being in jail. She needs to have the rest so she can be ready to testify. But we have never heard her on the record. We've also never heard, in terms of about Dan's murder. She's talked about other things, but not about Dan's murder. But also her husband, Harvey, there. He was sitting inside of the courtroom again today. We hadn't seen that during Charlie's trial. Harvey and Donna elected not to even come to Tallahassee during their son's murder trial, assumingly that's because they didn't want to be arrested. But now that Donna's been arrested, Harvey's not staying away. So we're seeing him in this courtroom throughout the trial. And finally, jail informants. We heard a lot about that today during these questions from the attorneys. Whether or not these jurors, how they feel about jail snitches, whether or not they hold their testimony in a certain light. So that is suggesting that we might be hearing from an informant that we've heard a lot about, Drina Burkhart, who was inside of the Leon County Jail with Donna and came forward to authorities saying she could get information out of her. All of the motions on this have been redacted, so we don't know what all information she has, but that could be coming out.
That's fast. That's a big difference, right? That's a big difference. And that's information they didn't get until they arrested her. Julie Janae, thank you so much, working late. We appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. Wow, big day tomorrow, folks. Let's bring back in our think tank. Still with me, Rick Grundy, Alexis Rosenberg, and David Schnipper. Let me ask you, Rick, you arrest someone for murder, and then you get more evidence after you arrest them, and it's a jailhouse informant. Personally, I don't like jailhouse informants. I think I almost interpret it as a sign of weakness for the prosecution if you've got to get one of these desperate inmates to give you information after you arrest the defendant. What are your thoughts about using jailhouse informants after you believe you had enough to arrest and charge her?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. One of the things with respect to federal prosecutions overall is they have always relied heavily on informants, both within the jailhouse and outside of the jailhouse, which I think is the easiest way to get into a conviction that is going to be overturned. The other thing here is, do we know at this point in time what the alleged credibility is to verify this jailhouse informant? That is a crucial piece when you rely on them. As far as investigations going on, I always consider an investigation to go on until the verdict is rendered. Usually after the arrest, you're shifting that investigation to be looking into potential defenses or what the defense is mounting. But you always want to keep looking at it. And I'll tell you that the gold in a post-indictment, the defendant being held, is in their phone records, listening to their jail calls.
And there's going to be a lot of that, too, those jail calls. All right, Alexis, we have about a minute left, so I'm going to split it between you and David. What are your thoughts about a jailhouse informant? Is it a sign of weakness? I felt like they had enough at Charlie's trial to convict Donna.
I don't know if it's a sign of weakness, but I think the jurors are always asking, what is the motivation? But, you know, it doesn't surprise me that she may have been running her mouth after we listened to what you just stated about those phone calls. She seems to not be able to really understand that they're snitches in jail and they are recording the conversations.
David Schnipper, the one thing about this prosecutor, she knows her jury. She knows her jury, and my guess is it's going to be another strong prosecution. But I felt at Charlie's trial, there was so much evidence about Donna that I don't want to dirty my case with an inmate.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of will be like deja vu. They're going to follow the lead in what Charlie convicted. You know, even Catherine McBana and the Siegfried Garcia. It's like check, check, check. Now we're to Donna, and I'm hoping it's going to go to Harvey and Wendy next, because I think they're just as culpable, especially Wendy. But yeah, I expect Donna the Devil, as I call her, to be next and to be convicted.
All right, Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, another great case we are watching on Court TV. And I say great because it's like I've never seen anything like this before, where a serial killer's daughter is the victim. The serial killer is, you know, part of the victim, and they're pointing the finger at someone else. Well, today the defendant's mother took the stand. Christopher Wolfenbarger, accused of murdering his wife, the daughter of a serial killer.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
Do you recall Chrissy and Joey finding pictures and asking you about Melissa in those pictures?
No.
Do you recall not telling them who Melissa was?
No.
Do you recall once they began questioning you about Melissa, taking the pictures and putting them in a shed?
No.
Is there any reason anyone would have to make that up?
I have no idea.
Hey, things are getting even stranger in this case. To remind you, the victim, Melissa Wolfenbarger, the daughter of a serial killer, goes missing, ends up murdered. It wasn't her father who is being accused of doing it. It is her husband. That's her husband's mother, who apparently was raising Melissa's children, but not talking about Melissa. Like, Melissa disappears and nobody talks about her. The kids grow up, they have known nothing about their mother. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre, but perhaps incriminating against this defendant, even though he's pointing the finger at the serial killer father and perhaps his wife, who helped him plan a couple of the murders and dispose of some of the bodies, but got an immunity deal. All right, now here's Joseph Wolfenbarger. He is the son of Melissa, the victim, and Christopher Wolfenbarger, the defendant, the husband accused of murdering his wife. He was very young when his mom disappeared. Here's some of his testimony.
Did you grow up with Kathy Wolfenbarger in her household?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember at any time growing up, say around the early 2000s, that she took all the pictures of Melissa Wolfenbarger down from your house?
I don't really recall ever seeing pictures of her, like, in the house.
Okay. Do you remember at some point in your life being told what happened to your mother?
Yes, more so at a young age.
What were you told at a young age?
I mean, I would say I was at least about 4,
Okay.
5.
Do you remember what you were told happened to you?
That somebody had killed her, and that it's only so much you can tell a small child, but it was more so that it was done in a very horrific way.
Did you at some point move in with your father?
I mean, yes.
And about how old were you when that happened?
It was after high school.
Do you remember at some point the defendant making a comment while watching a TV show that he knew how to dispose of a body by burying it under concrete or something to that effect?
It wasn't necessarily from a TV show. It was more so we were discussing about how Carl had gotten away with other murders, and we were talking about different scenarios, and my sister had walked in later on, kind of caught half of the conversation, and kind of been standoffish about the conversation.
Okay, so a couple questions just to clarify. The context of the discussion was Carl Patton's murder.
Right.
Okay, and at some point Chrissy walked into the room and overheard the conversation.
Yes.
You were 4 when you were told that your mom had been murdered?
I would say that's about right. 4 or 5, somewhere around there.
And you were told by Kathy Wolfenbarger, correct?
Not really. I mean, it was more so of Rachel. Like she got more into detail with it.
Okay.
But, I mean,
And so you heard a bunch of details
yes.
when you were 4.
Yes.
And did you never asked your dad about what happened, correct?
I mean, it'd always been a touchy subject for, talk about with anybody, it's not really.
Okay. So you never had conversations about your mom's death with your dad, haven't you?
I mean, bits and pieces,
But nothing extensive.
Right.
What a tough spot for him, Alexis. This young guy, mom's murdered, dad's on trial for the murder, never talks about what happened to mom, his whole life. His grandma, maybe she did, maybe she didn't talk about this. Grandpa's a serial killer. The other grandma helped the serial killer. This poor guy, what a life. So this is all being played out in front of the jury. How does it impact the jury in trying to decide what happened to his mom, Melissa?
Well, I think, as you said, the jury's going to feel very sad for him. It's just bizarre. What's in the water there? This is just a crazy story. There was also testimony from the grandmother, interestingly enough, that not only did they not talk about his mother, but also somebody broke into the garage and stole all the pictures of the mother, which is really strange, and 2 lanterns, I believe. That's all they took, allegedly. So, it seems like they just wanted to, for whatever reason, make the mother disappear. They're not talking about her. You've got 2 young kids. You would think that they would want to keep the memory of the mother alive for them, but that was not happening.
David Schnipper, this is a bizarro world that we're living in, but I don't think it helps this defendant at all.
No, not at all. And you can look at the son and how weathered he is and how beaten down he is, and you have some empathy for him. And they talked about his 4 years old, 5 years old, is being told that his mother was murdered, and like my colleague said, what's in the water, like serial killer soap opera here, and then the grandmother. I think I read that she got an immunity for testifying against her husband, the serial killer, and she admitted on the stand today that she helped dispose of the bodies. I mean, it's what can you say? This is bizarre. Bizarre.
And that's on the maternal side. On the paternal side, those parents raised the grandchildren, and they didn't murder people. But mom's side murdered people. But now the accusation is that on dad's side, dad is the murderer, Rick. So there's a lot of like really bad things that have happened within this family. But ultimately, a jury has to decide what happened to Melissa. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, Vinnie, first, your program directors, when they give their prayers in the evening, they're sending out blessings to Florida and Georgia down there. They just keep coming. But the question I have with this is, and it may be a little too close to the Karen Reed trial to bring it up, but a third-party culprit defense can't just be thrown out there. There has to be an establishment that there is some form of evidence that would raise a reasonable argument that this other person was the murderer. And the fact that another person out here intertwined in the family who had a penchant for murdering people doesn't raise that level. I haven't been able to watch enough of the trial to answer that question by myself, but it seems to me what I have seen is they're just, well, there was this other guy out there who was a member of the family and he was a serial murderer, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the way it's played to a certain extent. But what a tragedy, what a disaster. But I really feel bad for Joseph Hoffenbarger. The hand that he was dealt, hopefully he's dealing with it okay. Rick Grundy, Alexis Rosenberg, David Schnipper, great to see you. Thank you so much. When we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates a baby is missing, mom's story has inconsistencies, and dad has a history of baby abuse. What happened to little baby Emmanuel? Tonight, we investigate.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Oh, look who's being sexually harassed. The Idaho 4 killer. Murderer, mass murderer getting sexually harassed. Take a look at this. A handwritten complaint obtained by the New York Post. A resident concern form. I wish to discuss if I may be transferred to another AC seg setting such as B Block. Not engaging in any of the recent flooding, striking, as well as being the subject of minute-by-minute threats and harassment. On that basis, Unit 2 of J Block is an environment that I wish to transfer from. People magazine reporting this, that he complained of sexual harassment in a note to a prison guard after an inmate allegedly told him, "I'll bleep you." He also accused another inmate of saying the only bleep we'll be eating is the killers. Unbelievable stuff. And then he's also, he's a vegan, and he's complaining about the food. He's complaining about the food. I have not received all items of my food tray. This is again from People. He wrote saying that he brings up these issues and no one even contacted the kitchen. The policy book confirms items missing which are pointed out during service will be replaced. The guy's reading the handbook and trying to get more food. Anyway, we'll keep you up to date on that. All right, take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Dominic Heffernan, missing out of Cleveland, Ohio, only 15 years old. If you see Dominic, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Geauga County Sheriff's Office. That number's up on the screen. Let's see if we get Dominic to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.
There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.